Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome back to the nitty gritty. Y'all, it has been an adventure, okay? I attempted not once, not twice, but three times to go live yesterday, y'all. And it was just pure mayhem, okay? There was so much going on, and each time I got on, I had to end it and delete it and then get back on and try again. It was just it I mean, during the first one, everything was going smooth. It was going good, it's going great. I had the title out there, the kids were in bed, and I was just gonna rock and roll with it. And then out of nowhere, my youngest baby just starts crying. I mean, not like that. Oh, I can't find my pacifier. Kind of, I like crying like somebody done pinched my baby. Okay. I mean, and he was just not consolable. I mean, and when you hear that kind of cry as a parent or guardian or sibling, whatever, you instantly start thinking like, okay, is something biting you? Do you got a cramp in your arm? Is your stomach like you go through the works? But then when I'm looking at his face, I can tell like, okay, you're still asleep. You know, like you're not like awake crying, but I've never seen him cry like that in his sleep. Besides like the little whine kind of whimper, like he's looking for his. Oh, I thought I heard him crying. I thought I spoke it up. I had to pause for a second. But anyway, I thought what was I saying? Oh yeah. Besides, like, if he's looking for his pacifier. So I went in there and I'm just like, oh, I'm rocking him, trying to give him his binky. He wants nothing to do with it. He wants nothing to do with me rocking him. And I'm like, what? What could be the problem? Like, what? I don't know. And so I was like, man, you've been crying for, a couple minutes. To me, it seemed like it was like 10 minutes. It probably wasn't exactly 10 minutes, but it felt like it. And so I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go ahead and end this, and I'm gonna delete it. And when I get him, squared away, it's gonna be good. So after a couple minutes or so, he calms down, and I'm rocking. I'm like, okay, he's cool now. He's back in that deep sleep. So let me lay him down, and then I close the door behind me, and I tiptoe back to the living room. I'm like, okay, we're gonna be able to rock and roll this again. I start back the live, get the settings, get the title, all that great stuff. And then my um toddler is requesting me very adamantly, and I'm like, okay. And that saying in a movie, um when somebody says, well, it can't get worse than this. Hmm. Well, and we had some ministry calls at that time. And it was actually on my husband's phone. So I'm like, I went live the second time. And then, I had to answer some calls and stuff. And then I'm like, okay, we're just gonna try to, kind of like include that in the podcast. Like, but then I'm like, nah, you can't just do that. Like, I know this is my home life, and you guys get the raw Natasha, whatever it is. Like, I don't even know if you guys can hear the cartoons going on in the back, but we this is the real life. Sometimes, when you're a parent, especially of multiple children, you are required to do what you gotta do and do what you gotta do. Okay? You gotta do for them and you gotta do for you. And that's just that. And so I was like, okay, this is not this is not panning out well. Um, I'm going to need to regroup on this because it's just not working. So I was like, okay, let me end that. Oh, see, I think he found his pacifier. Yeah, I'm not I'm not spacing on y'all. I just when I tell y'all, I was like, no, I am doing that podcast. Okay, it is going to work. We're just gonna rock and roll it. And so I was like, you know what? Let me just put this to the side. Let me make sure all the diapers are changed. Maybe the kids they're just needing that extra hug. I don't know if any of you guys, you put your kids in bed and then all of a sudden they got a question or they need an extra cup of something or they it's just something that they need at the the most interesting time. They need something. They want something. They're asking for something. And I'm like, I don't want you to think that I'm not going to be here for your needs, but at the same time, I need for you to go to sleep. Okay? I need for you to lay down and let me take care of business. And that hasn't happened yet. That hasn't happened yet. So I was like, whew, okay, okay. I'll just let them know what happened. I'm gonna get on there and it's gonna be fine. Well, my toddler is like, but how fine is it going to be, Mom? I don't know. And I'm like, look, it's the summertime. There's no school. I mean, some people have summer school, but I think summer school is ended for most kids. So I'm like, here's PBS Kids. Here's Word World, I believe that's what it's called, which is actually a pretty good show. Okay, I can watch that with the kiddos, and it's pretty entertaining. I like how they actually the animals and all of that are the words. Okay, I'm really a big kid. Okay, I really am a big kid at heart. I love stuff like that. But I was like, wow. There's, I obviously know there's a lot that goes into being a parent. I know that. But when you boil down everything and you look at what's just required in the foundation of being a guardian, a caretaker, a parent, or just flat out having a responsibility, okay, there are just some days where you be like, are you sure? Oh, you guys, excuse me. That was a random yawn. You know, and did you know? I learned that sometimes your body will make you yawn not because you're tired, but because you need more oxygen. Like it needs you to take a bigger breath. I didn't know that. I'm not saying that's why I yawn, but I'm saying I did hear that. So if that's valid, maybe I need to be more like, I don't know, more intentional on breathing. Hello. And speaking of breathing, when I began to be so frustrated about trying to get through the podcast, or really trying to begin the podcast, I was getting so frustrated, and breathing was one of the biggest things that I did that I know is so helpful because I was like, trying to decide in my mind how was I going to feel about it. Um, how was I gonna was I gonna be irritated, or was I going to just let it roll off my back, or was I gonna be like, it's fine, it's whatever. But when it's something that you care about, you tend to be a bit more um I'll say closed minded, a bit more closed minded on interruptions being acceptable in the sense. Like you're just not as tol tolerative. You just That's not a word. I know that's not a word. Um, oh, thank you, honey. My husband's on my podcast. I just love him. Y'all, he will be on plenty more. Can't wait for you guys to really get to know him. He is literally the life of the party, okay? When I get all serious, he mellows that out cuz y'all it gets real. and and so I just chose to be like, you know what? I'm going to do some intentional breathing and it's going to be fine. I'm going to handle each and every requirement that I need. But who really wants to do that when you thought you did it already? And so that's where I think I was just kind of getting frustrated within myself because I was like, I did this already. Like, I know I followed all the steps to make sure you guys are fed, you're bathed, you're clean, you're relaxed. Like, what more could you possibly want from me? Like, what more is there that I can give you? Because I think I didn't did it all. But really, it was something simple like, oh, I just wanted a hug or I just wanted some more kisses. And, in those moments, I'm like, dang, what if I would have had an attitude? I'll, because I had to do the reasonable thing. Like, your kid wants a hug, okay, hug your kid. Like, it's not that big of a deal. Like, things like that should definitely trump us doing whatever it is that we wanted to do. I mean, not to say that what we want to do and what we like to do don't matter, but it's a hug from your kid. And so as I'm getting them ready and I'm thinking about like, oh, in what ways can I still kind of squeeze in what I want? And then, by that time I'm like, I wasn't just yawning for oxygen. I was sleepy, y'all. Okay. I was like, oh, I'm so tired. And you know that moment where you are so very tired, you didn't finish everything you had to do, and you're tired, you're exhausted, you're like, okay, let me go get in bed. The kids are fine. Let me go lay down. You lay down, and then all of a sudden you got all this energy. I really wonder, like, why that happens. But it makes me think, like, oh, this must be what kids go through because you can be rocking them, their head is on your shoulder, they're calm and you're like, oh, surely you're going to fall asleep. Surely you're tired enough to lay down. No, I go lay down and I either find myself like scrolling on my phone or I have a busy mind. And I was like, man, there are things that I gotta do, I gotta take care of. And not like in the overwhelming sense, like I just cannot find order in all of these things. More like, well, yeah, there's more responsibility. And as I was watching these videos about, the responsibilities of a parent, I mean, this person was just so very upset that they had all of these things to do. And I mean, from the looks of it, she had a decent husband that, and by decent, I mean like he contributed and all that. Y'all don't come for me, okay? I was not comparing anything, but she was just tired, man, and you can tell she was just like, I just want nothing to do. I don't want there to be a single thing that I need to do when I look around. And I was like, and I get that. But what my god sister was telling me was that, well, how about we switch our perspective? How about your kitchen, needs to be clean and dishes need to be washed. Y'all, why am I looking at these dishes going, wow? But she was like, maybe, your perspective is these dishes need to be washed because your family has dishes to eat on. Like this living room needs to be clean because your family has a roof over their head. That bathroom needs to be clean because you guys have running water. Like, it, you know, as she was talking, I was like, wow, yeah, that's true. I still want to wash them dishes, but that's true. And so I was like, all of those things are required. All of those things are a constant thing. Like, yeah, you can be like, I can put this off for another day. But just because you put it off doesn't mean that it went away. You're just ignoring it or being lazy or being so overwhelmed that you just cannot even deal with it at the moment. And so I just got to thinking, like, wow, you as a parent or guardian or caretaker, friend, brother, sister, like when you have decided that you are going to take on that responsibility, it really comes with some things that is like, I think it's more than sacrifice because some things are just so automatic you don't even realize you're turning things down so that you can take care of something else. Like you just go and do it. It just it's second nature to take care of business or to notice what someone else needs. If you have kids, it's second nature to be like, okay, I see you getting kind of low on those wipes. By the way, kids never grow out of wipes. Okay, our oldest is a whole kid, a kid, and she still be needing wipes. Okay, they never ever grow out of wipes. When I make messes, I grab me a wipe. I think wipes are they just need to be a staple in the household. Okay, because they are so handy. I mean, and they got all those different scents. But I digress. I will not go on a rant about baby wipes. But it's just on us to recognize and to have that mindset of I'm gonna intentionally purposely pay attention in the sense of like I'm going to notice. I'm gonna take note that I have been using supplies and these supplies are getting low, so I need to make a list in my mind or just be like, you know what, while I'm out, let me go grab it, let me replace it, let me replenish it. And sometimes, trying to keep track of all those things can be so daunting. Like, it can be like, are you sure? I could have sworn I just bought some toilet tissue. Are you sure? I could have sworn, didn't I just buy them some socks? When did they run? How are they running out of that? What? I only remember getting the. Are you sure? You really start like questioning yourself. Like, I know I'm here. Okay, I know that I'm present, but dang, like, what's going on, y'all? Y'all moving a little too fast for me. I need y'all to slow down for a second. And it's not until you see pictures and videos of them from like years ago and you go, wow, wow, you were tiny. You were so small. And see, and we think of our current responsibilities like as if they're just new. But like no, like the second that we said yes, or the second that, that child was conceived, our list of requirements grew, whether we wanted to acknowledge them or not. And I spent so much time in early um in early parenting just trying to make sure that I didn't extend that list. Like I I wasn't a lazy parent, but to be able to not take on more stuff, that was kind of like my motivation for getting things done. Not because I wanted them to all be in order and I wanted to be like, oh, I did this and I got that and this is squared away. No, I just didn't want to have to deal with it later on. Like and it was so bad, y'all. It was so bad. People be like, wow, you stay with a clean kitchen. Like, wow, your refrigerator is always well put together or no, 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 no. I mean, I understand what you're saying. I appreciate your what do you call it? Your compliments, but that's just what you see. You just see the kind of, glitz and glam, like how we as people, we sometimes we see the shininess of people or situations when really it's just some glorified, I don't know. I was going to say copper, but copper is actually pretty resourceful. But anyway, you get the point. The point is, I was like, I'm doing this because I'm approaching it from a lazy mindset and I don't want to have to do it later. I actually want to sit down and do nothing later. I mean, but when you have 3 kids, there's not that much of that. And if there is a whole lot of that, well, you know, you got to change that because everybody around you, even though they may not be saying it, they think you're real lazy. And I should know because I had a lazy mindset. Like, it was so strange for that to be my motivation, but it was. Like, I want to clean the whole house top to bottom, quick, fast, in a hurry, efficiently, and all of that so that I can sit down and twiddle my toes. But when you have kids, when they need you, even though you could have just cleaned your entire house front to back, when they need you, they need you. And at first, when our kids would be like calling me, and I had just sat down. I mean, that seat that that feeling when you take that first seat after standing for so long. Like, I mean, you've been back and forth. My neighbor calls it what did he say? He said walking a hole in the carpet because you didn't went back and forth over the same path so many times, and you can. My whole train of thought just disappeared. That was so weird. But that's what I was saying. So, like, all of that happens, and then, as soon as you finally get in that seat, you got your lemonade, your cold drink, whatever it is, and then you hear, Mama, Mommy, Daddy, can you come here, please? And in my mind, I promise you, I'm like, no, I can't. I will not. Absolutely not. Matter of fact, that is not my name for the next 25 minutes. Like, do not, what? I just, I just got here. I earned this seat. I will not come see what you want just so you can show me something completely random. And now I have to put on this, oh, wow. Our oldest, our oldest heard me doing that with her younger sibling. She was like, "Really, Mom? That had to be the most." I said, "Hey, hey, 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 hey." Unless you become a parent, you don't understand the requirements of not hurting your kids' feelings. Because we cannot just tell y'all, just, oh, that's a funny looking tiger sheep bear bird. Like, and they go, no, mommy, that's you. What do you mean? Oh, you don't like it? No, no, no. It's it's not that. Um, no, no, it's not that. I think this is a great photo, and that's what you gotta say. And so she was looking at me. I was just looking at me across the room like, mm, mm. And I'm like, hey, you'll understand one day. I mean, you don't got, you don't, you don't have, have to. I don't know what, my tea just was like, no, we're not doing that. I was like, you don't have to have, a husband and kids. You can just be Kelsey and just stay here. And she's like, nah, mom, I gotta go to college. I gotta go to trade school. I gotta start my business. I gotta buy my own house. And I'm like, I know, I know, I know, you know. And even those things, like, when you listen to what they aspire to be, like what they dream of being, or, you know, even if it's something just, it's like, you can't really be successful, like with just being something she said. It was some character. It was a character on TV. She was like, "Oh, I want to be like that," and I was like, um, I mean, I I'm grateful that you are aspiring to be something, but that let's not do that, okay? Let's redirect this energy here. Let's redirect this attention. And so if they're like, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a nurse, or I want to be a firefighter, or I want to be a pilot, or I want to be, a makeup artist, or I want to be a hairstylist, or all of those things, the first kind of guidance that they will get, is coming from us. And so I feel like that kind of challenges us to learn more, to pick up a book, or to go check out a book at the library, or get online, get on Google, get on, I don't actually know any other, Yahoo? I think Yahoo is the return. I mean, the return. The, y'all, I'm looking. Have y'all ever been talking and you're reading something and then you start saying it, or you start typing it, like whatever you're looking at? That's exactly what happened. Y'all gonna have to excuse me. But let me put this down. And so y'all, I just wanted to wrap all this up because I see my toddlers getting a little restless and I'm getting distracted, and that's not what we're supposed to be doing. Okay? So, I just want to say it's all good that you sometimes feel overwhelmed. It's okay to be like, you know what, hey, I am not about to do A through Z today. You know what? I kind of only have the energy to do A through E. Matter of fact, the way I'm really feeling, I can only do A. That's all I got. And that's okay because you're not competing with nobody. You're not trying to impress nobody. You're not, you're okay. You're okay just as you are. You don't need approval from nobody. It's everybody wants to feel welcomed. Okay, let's just keep it a buck. Everybody wants somebody to acknowledge them, to just be like, hey, I see you. You know, I see what you're doing. That's cool. We get excited. It's just in us to share certain things, even if we're all tough and locked up. We still want to share things. We just may have been conditioned not to. We may have been hurt so much to the point that we don't. But that doesn't mean we don't want to. And that's okay. You can still want that. You can still do that. Even if it's dealing with your responsibilities, your, what I call them, normal, what do I say? Normal, normal actions, like you you washed your dishes. And some people, they want acknowledgement, like, hey, I washed the dishes, or hey, I cleaned the living room. And at first I used to be like, well, That's what you're supposed to do. I don't understand. But it wasn't about that. And and so it's just about shifting that mindset to everybody wants to be celebrated. Everybody wants somebody to be like, wow, good job. Because it makes us feel good. It gives us motivation to do something else well. And so that's what our that's what it's like when it comes to our kids. You do the best that you can do with what you got, and that's all right. Be willing to grow, be open to grow, look for opportunities to grow. See, that's a big thing. Taking initiative on growing, not just for ourselves, but for our kids. That's huge because I love being able to answer, my kids' questions of like, what is this or how does that work? I don't want to go to Google every time. Sometimes I want to be able to explain it to them in that moment. So when you have these different interests, you know, or they have these different interests and hobbies and stuff like that, get into them. Maybe you watch a little YouTube video, figure out how it works. Doesn't mean you gotta take it to them and be like, oh, this is what I learned, based off what you asked me. Like, sometimes it'll just come to you, and then you'll see how more reassured they feel. Because kids, they may not be able to express how much they don't like unsureness, just getting a whole bunch of, well, I don't know, or eventually, or, soon. It just, they just, I don't know. They just have this kind of expression. But when they ask you about something and you took that little bit of time to kind of look into it to see how it works or to see who you can connect to see how it works, they have this look of relief. Like, oh, okay, my interest is safe. My, desires are safe. They can be trusted. And that's a huge part of that parental relationship, that caregiver guardianship relationship is trust. When they see that you're putting in effort about, concerning things that they need, their requirements, their requirements, you're meeting their needs, or you're taking the initiative to meet their needs, saying, hey, you're about to run out of this. Here you go, or hey, I kind of noticed you were looking at that at the store. I mean, obviously, our younger two don't do that, but we see, our toddlers, they're like, they have that lingering look. They're looking at things or longing for things. And so when you give it to them, their face lights up like, wow, you understand me. Wow. You understand my communication methods. Like those are in the requirements for us raising the next generation, is to help them understand that they can be understood, that even though people communicate differently from this house to the next house, they can be understood. And and them being understood is important. You know, so many people, so many kids, growing up, they just feel like, well, what's the point of me saying anything? It's not gonna matter. You know, what what reason do I have to tell you what I like? It's not gonna become anything. But when they see that you're like, oh, that's what you're interested in, and it could be something as small as a toy. Be like, you said you want to be a doctor. Here's your doctor coat right here. That small thing, like just showing them, like, even if this ain't your interest for the rest of your life, I'm invested in you. Because they have a voice. And there's so many of us walking around today that feel like our voice sometimes is loud, but most of the time it's unheard. It's quiet. It's because those basic requirements, those basic necessities weren't met. And that responsibility is on us. It's on us to get out of our phones, get out of the TV, get out of our favorite novel, like, and just look, look at them, be invested in them, let them understand that this can be trusted, this relationship can be trusted, your dependency can be trusted, your reliability can be trusted, you know, and that is just the hugest thing of just understanding. Trust is important, and trust gets established through taking care of those responsibilities. And, and it's the same thing with whatever we have been given to be a good steward over, whether it's a car, whether it's a house, an apartment, a project, whatever it is. Trust is in the foundation. So let's just agree that we're going to build that trust with our kids by meeting those needs, by understanding and enjoying the fact that there are requirements. I've seen you do just that too. Yeah, I appreciate that. Um, that there are needs, and that we're not gonna just put their needs to the side. Like, yes, it may be annoying at times, like, oh my gosh, I didn't went in there like 6 7 times, but how do we know in their mind that that's not how they establish trust? you know they're like, if I call you 100 times, will you answer? Will you come help me? Will you come find me? It's just a trust exercise. That's the way I learned to look at it. Like, I'm not going to be upset because you're going to possibly go through things in life, and it's just going to pile all that on, and you're going to learn you can't put your trust in the world because, baby, they will chew you up and spit you out. You can't, you shouldn't, rather. You can, you got free will, but you shouldn't. And, you're going to go through all these things, lose friends, gain friends. All of this stuff is going to change. But what I don't want to change, what I don't want to change is your foundation. I don't need you trying to build your life as you grow up on a cracked foundation. And so it's for us, as um, parents and guardians, to make sure that that foundation is solid, with our beliefs, with our faith, or, wherever you stand on that, but that needs to be embedded, okay? Because this world will tear these kids apart. It eats insecurity and instability for breakfast. Okay? And so we can't let that be our story. We can't let that be their story. And so when we make that reasonable sacrifice of our time, like how I did with the podcast, I could have came back in here, but my son and, daughter needed me. And the other one, we talked on the phone on FaceTime, and we played these games and all this stuff. She needed that. But I wouldn't have been able to see that if I was still like trying to make what I had planned, work. And so that became a huge thing for me, was that, what? I said yes to the responsibility. So I'm saying yes to the requirement that I'm going to handle my business. And you were my business. That's why when I be seeing some kids that be like, my mama all in my business, my daddy all in my business. What business? You are my business. You ain't got no business. What are you talking? What business? Where? Cause you grown and you got your own company. I don't care. You still my business. You see, babies will always be babies. I don't know who started that. When you turn 18, you got to go. No, no, no. No, you don't. No, you don't. Okay? You ain't going to college. You got a room right here. Where you going? You can go to school. You ain't gotta go. Now when you get married, hey, you know. But if you don't get married, why you trying to go somewhere? I don't understand. That's just what kind of mom I am because we just I don't know, we just love them. And so y'all don't be, dismayed because you've had to sacrifice things because you're like you're thinking about the future sacrifice. Don't psych yourself out, you know. Don't do that to yourself. You're doing great with what you got. You were dealt a different set of cards. I'm like, hey, now that we realize our literal free, will, our the power of choice, you don't gotta keep shuffling through those cards. Put them cards back and get some more, okay? Like you can choose to do different. You don't have to cycle through what you were taught back then and who taught you and the way they taught you. You don't have to do the same thing that they did. You can just decide because you wanted to. Nope. I want a different mindset. I just decided. There you go. Nope. I want a different response. I just decided to. So, therefore, that's what I'm going to do. Like, you don't owe the past nothing, but your future, your future. You might want to consider that. And so, y'all, we gonna wrap this up. I'm gonna let y'all get some sleep. I'm gonna go get some sleep. Thank you guys so much for joining in on this nitty gritty podcast. Thank y'all for sticking with us and just doing all the amazing things that you guys do.